Coming up on Phillies Nation, we've got our projected 2015 Phillies lineups.
Our old friend Brad Lidge comments on the quality arms in the Phil's pen.
And we'll take a look into the future at some of the top Phillies prospects.
Phillies Nation starts now.
Welcome, folks. This is Phillies Nation. He is Corey Simon. I am Pat Gallen, and we are brought to you by BQ Basement Systems. And we are at the lovely Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall in Center City, Philadelphia. Well, this is our first true Phillies show for 2015. We did our fantasy baseball special last week. This week, though, it's all Phillies. And it's kind of funny. We go back to the end of last season, in our final episode of last year. We put together a lineup that we thought would look good going into 2015. Now, if you take a look at it, things don't quite end up the way you planned them to.
It's amazing how much can change in an offseason, even one that didn't seem to have a lot going on for the Phillies. I mean, yeah, there were the trades, the Jimmy Rollins trade, and obviously the Marlon Byrd trade that made a lot less headlines. Right. But, you know, when you look at what we projected, we had Ryan Howard leaving town, because of all the things that were said over the offseason and the way things ended in 2014. So we were assuming Michael Kadire, a guy who could be a stopgap, not, you know, a guy who's going to be here 5 or 6 years, but maybe to sign a 2-year deal, which he eventually signed with the Mets. Sure. We still had Jimmy Rollins in town. We had Yasmani Tomas here because at that time, the Phillies were seen as the front runner or one of the front runners for his services. They kind of bowed out late in the game there. But when you look at how much different the lineup is going to be this season with, you know, a Rule 5 pick and Freddie Galvis getting everyday playing time, it's a lot different, and I'm actually glad the Phillies chose this path over the one that we had.
Is that right? Why do you say that?
Well, because that path, with a guy like Michael Kadire, it would have served no purpose. If you have a stopgap, if you have a guy there for, you know, 2 years.
That lineup, though, from last year is a lineup that not necessarily would contend, but may be better suited to contend in the NL East than this lineup this year.
I agree with that. It might have been a 77-win team, but what would have been the point of that? I mean, you would have been winning 77 games, picking 13th or 14th in the draft. It would have just been a collective bore, you know? So at least the Phillies are going to give playing time to younger guys. You'll have a couple guys like Galvis, Darren Ruff, Odubel Herrera getting more playing time. And I really think at the top of that lineup, if there's going to be an exciting part of the Phillies lineup, it's going to be that 1-2 with Ben Revere and Odubel Herrera.
Yeah, that is I wouldn't say a 1-2 punch, but it's going to be slightly different than things you've seen in the past, especially because Ben Revere doesn't really give you a ton of power at the top of the order, and being a left fielder, if that's where he's going to start.
Sure, and I mean, look at this is our ideal lineup. This isn't what we're saying it's going to be, you know, the first week of the season, because Dominic Brown obviously not ready. But Odubel Herrera, I think, slots very well into the 2-hole because he has the type of skills that maybe could translate into eventually a Shane Victorino type, a guy who has a little bit of pop, you know, gap power, guy who can steal a lot of bases, and he's wreaked havoc on the bases this offseason, going 6 for 6, and I could see Revere and Herrera a lot of first to third type situations, maybe some double steals. I'm trying to look at the bright side here, but that 1-2 punch, that could be best case scenario, maybe a Pierre Castillo type.
All right, so that's the top 2 of the lineup. The third spot in that order, a familiar face as always, Chase Utley. But what worries me a little bit is the way he ended last season. He got off like gangbusters last year, and you can look pre-All-Star and post-All-Star break. Last year, before the break, hit 293 with a 794 OPS. But after the break, that drops dramatically. The power drops. Basically everything, it drops across the board for Chase Utley, and that's worrisome because he's older. They still want him to play every day, but as he goes on, he wears down.
And that wasn't the first time that happened. I mean, we've seen Chase Utley wear down in the second half multiple times throughout his career, and I like you said last week on our fantasy special that if you were going to draft Chase Utley, try to trade him after the first month or two because, you know, like you said, last April, hitting .330 with some power. You know, he's still the 3-hole hitter by default. I think on many other teams he'd be batting second, maybe batting sixth, but on this team he's been batting third.
All right, so looking at the rest of the order as well, we move down to a guy, Cody Asche, who's an interesting character on this team because third base, it looked like, and we thought it might go to Maikel Franco when we made our lineup last season, but looking at him, his development is so important, and looking at his numbers from last season and the season before, if you combine them, it's basically 1 full year, 613 plate appearances, 15 homers, he's knocked in 68 runs, not a ton of walks, and a good amount of strikeouts. But this is a big year for Cody Asche stepping forward because they need him to improve defensively as well as at the plate.
Yes, and he's had a strong spring, hitting a couple homers, and look, they need more from him in both phases of the game. Last year, as I kept saying over the offseason, kind of gave him the bare minimum from a third baseman, and that's not really a knock on him, he was a rookie, but seriously, this third base lull the Phillies have been in has been 12 years in the running. I mean, ever since Scott Rowland left town in 2003, The Phillies have the worst third base OPS in all of baseball at 677, and that's about 40 points lower than the next worst team, which over that long of a sample size, that's significant. They also have the fewest home runs of all third base groupings in the majors at 179. Sure. Over 12 years, 179 home runs. That's
not
nothing.
A whole lot. Not a whole lot. Placido Polanco in there for a couple
some
of years
Pedro
as
Feliz,
well.
and David Bell.
Exactly. Let's look at two of the major storylines this season. Obviously, one is in the lineup, and it looks like he's going to hit fourth in the order, and that continues to be Ryan Howard, whom you and I both thought would not be here to start the season. Ruben Amaro had some interesting things to say about him before the season began, that he told him that he thought they'd be better off without him. Turns out he's still here, but he is a major storyline throughout this season.
He is, and I mean, he reported to camp in the best shape of his life, the way you hear that everybody reports to camp in the best shape of their life, but he actually did look like it. And I guess you could say he responded this spring. He's hit a couple homers, and you know, if Ryan Howard gets off to a strong start, if he has 5 homers in April, I think he becomes a movable piece. If the Phillies are going to trade him for, you know, keep $50 to $60 million on their books, I think he's attractive to some American League teams because they'd be mitigating the worst part of his game, which is his defense, using him only as a designated hitter.
You got to keep the fingers crossed that he stays hot at the right time, though, and then you can unload him. And another guy, we're going to be talking about him until he's gone, and that's Cole Hamels. Different trade scenarios will be popping up. We'll hear different rumors from guys like Ken Rosenthal and John Heyman, but you've got a couple of guys that you're looking at on other teams that we should get to know.
Yeah, on this graphic right here, when I have players to target, I don't mean this is necessarily who the Phillies have targeted. I'm saying these are the prospects they should target from these teams. And when you go down the list, it's all different levels they're at. Mookie Betts and Blake Swihart for the Red Sox. Betts is going to be cracking the everyday lineup for the Red Sox this year. Swihart might get in because of the injury to Christian Vasquez. The Rangers, Jorge Alfaro is a pretty good catcher, Nomar Mazara in the outfield, and Aaron Judge I really like from the Yankees, a 6'7" outfielder who many didn't think he was going to be able to hit too big of a strike zone, blah, 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 but he's been pretty good. And, you know, I want to throw something out, too, that Cole Hamels has a lot more trade value in season because there are going to be many situations where a team that was not in the running for him might talk themselves into it because of the second wild card. A team like the Diamondbacks, for example, spend some money on Yasmani Tomas, need a catcher also because they're going with like Tuffy Goswish. So, you know, if it's in May and they're still contending, they could look at Hamels and Carlos Ruiz, and they have the prospects to get that done.
So many different possibilities. We will keep an eye on all of them as the season progresses. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, Rachel McCauley will join us. We'll go over some trending Phillies topics when we return here from the Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall on Phillies Nation.
Phillies Nation is presented by BQ Basement Systems, the Philadelphia region's premier basement contractor.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
If you're a sports fan, you need to check out Sports Vault. Our stores will surround you with a great selection of autographed memorabilia, licensed apparel, trading cards, and novelties. Want to meet your favorite local and national superstars? Sports Vault brings the legends to you with dozens of in-store appearances. Check out any of our 3 locations in King of Prussia, Exton, or Moorestown. Or visit sportsvaultshop.com and use the code PhilliesNation to save 20% on your next order of autographed merchandise.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Travel is not the exciting adventure it used to be. I still love the destination, yet getting there can be a hassle unless you travel like the pros. Major League Vacations offers exciting personal or group travel options to your team's away game or your favorite vacation destinations. MLV does all the legwork. You focus on the experience. For more than 20 years, MLV has been a trusted partner to thousands of people just like you. Visit MLV.com and make travel exciting again, or call 800-222-6256. Tell them Ricky Bo sent you.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation. We're here at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall. We're going to get into your trending topics. We're going to send it down to Clearwater for one of your fan questions.
My question is kind of a retro. I have 2 grandchildren, broken-hearted. When's Victorino coming back? They absolutely love him. Bring him back.
Well, there's good news. You're going to see Shane Victorino really soon, and that's during the first week of the season as the Phillies open up with the Boston Red Sox. Unfortunately, he's probably not going to come back here as the Phillies are in a rebuild mode, but it's that rebuild mode that may have Cole Hamels with Shane Victorino and the Boston Red Sox. It's a possibility.
Right, and he got into a little bit of unnecessary trouble last week through no fault of his own when he said that the Red Sox should pursue Cole Hamels, and then people were like, oh, it's because he doesn't want Mookie Betts to take his position. It was completely ridiculous and blown out of proportion, and Shane Victorino has been one of Mookie Betts' staunchest supporters.
Sure.
Yeah, and if you have a chance to get a guy like Cole Hamels, you want to do that. He's a proven commodity versus an unproven prospect. So if you have a chance to get it, if you're the Red Sox, you want to do that.
And we've gone through that here, where do you try and give up one of your best players for 2 or 3 of those prospects? The Red Sox are on the opposite side. You probably want to get to that next level. They know that their starting rotation is not that strong. It's made up of a bunch of 2s and 3s and 4s. Right. If you want that ace, you got to pay for it.
And I would say that Mookie Betts is on a little bit different of a playing field than all the prospects the Phillies traded over the years.
Exactly. One more former Philly, Brad Lidge, had some interesting things to say about the young relievers in the Phillies' pen.
I think really just trusting your stuff. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but really for those guys, their stuff is so good that all they need to go out there and do is really just throw strikes. I think you throw strikes and eventually you can kind of fine-tune things, but the only way these guys are going to get into trouble is if they're tiptoeing around certain hitters, and that's doing the hitters a favor with how good their stuff is. But I think Giles last year, he came right up, and I think he kind of had that confidence right away, and that's why people project him to be a great closer at some point, and I think he will be. Diekman, on the other hand, has an opportunity to close it, I'm sure, at some point in his career, too, if he continues to throw the ball the way he's doing. Just figuring out who you are and what, again, their stuff is great, but figuring out what makes them great on certain pitches to certain hitters, so that's just a matter of experience.
Both Giles and Diekman have been struggling lately in the spring. Diekman the other day said he had the worst outing in the history of the world. What do you think about how they've been so far this spring?
Yeah, Giles and Diekman, what's worried me about Giles is that he has like 7 walks in about 7 innings this spring, and last year that was the thing that really stuck out from him, is that he only had about 11 walks in 50, 60 innings. I think that the league is going to catch up to Ken Giles a little bit, especially if his velocity's down. It has been a bit down in the spring. So he's going to need to keep the same control that he had in his first season.
Speaking of control over a season, Brad Lidge certainly had plenty of that. We caught up with him at the Sports Vault for more about life after baseball.
Hey Phillies Nation, this is Ian Riccaboni here at the Valley Forge Casino and Convention Center, and we're here for the Philly Card Show. There's a number of autograph signers here today presented by Sports Vault, including Flyers Bob Kelly, Bill Clement, Phillies Bake McBride, and of course, former Phillies closer Brad Lidge, who we had a moment to speak with.
Every time I come back to Philly, I feel so blessed and fortunate to be back in the city and to have, won that World Series here of all places. And because the town is such an amazing sports town.
It's great to see fans get excited and share their memories with the athlete. And there's some amazing stories that I get to hear over the years.
The fans have been amazing for me. I mean, my entire career here, after I retired here, it's been just a real joy every time I come in here. They tell me a lot of times, I have no idea what an incredible moment it was for them when we won the World Series, but I think they forget. For me, it was probably, the most remarkable moment I had also. So it's fun for us to go back and forth and talk a little bit about it.
Thank you, Ian. Still to come on Phillies Nation, we take a look at our top prospects next and fantasy baseball picks when we come back.
Phillies Nation is filmed each week at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall in Center City, Philadelphia. Come by all season long for delicious food, daily craft beer specials, and live music every Saturday. Live sports. Craft beer. Great food. Good times. What more do you need? Every day is a party at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall, the largest sports bar in Center City. Come to 11th and Filbert to see what you've been missing.
We're very excited to implement a program called 8 Weeks to Wellness. At Summit Spine and Wellness, we combine chiropractic care, massage therapy, customized nutrition, personal training, and meditation. If you want to improve your health, take the 8 Week to Wellness challenge like Dan, who lost 32 pounds, 6 inches off his waist, and 94 points off his cholesterol. We use a customized wellness score to measure your health and develop a diet and fitness plan just for you. Call our office at 215-487-2500 and ask about getting set up for your wellness score.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
Philly has a long sports history filled with great players and moments. Shibe Vintage Sports in Center City relives the glory years with fashionable attire for all your favorite teams. Separate yourself from the crowd with the hippest Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers gear. Pick up some unique shirts featuring local teams of yesteryear, or come to fun events where you can learn about your favorite teams. So if you're a sports fan, then you need to check out Shibe Vintage Sports. Visit them at 13th and Walnut or shibesports.com.
Welcome back to Phillies Nation, presented by BQ Basement Systems. Right now we're going to go on the farm, take a look at some of the top prospects.
It's the best part of our year, I think. It might be. It's the top 10 prospects. Why don't we just start at the top? J.P. Crawford. It's kind of a shame that he's going to have to deal with this strained oblique, and he's going to be out for about 4 more weeks. But last season, he really shot to the top of the Phillies farm system with this season a .285 average, hits for power, stole 14 bases, and what's really impressive is 65 walks to 74 strikeouts.
Yes.
He has great plate discipline already at this young stage of his career, and that bodes well for the Phillies' future with him.
If you have that in the minors, it often translates to the majors. The one thing the Phillies did want J.P. Crawford to work on is his defense. Committed 20-plus errors last year at shortstop. But, you know, what sticks out to me about this top 10 prospect list, you added 2 arms to this list with offseason trades. You know, getting Eflin in for the Jimmy Rollins deal, getting Ben Lively from the Reds for Marlon Byrd. And when you look at that Double-A, that Reading rotation, I think that's going to be the most intriguing part of any part of the Phillies system. You're going to have Aaron Nola, who Alex Rodriguez had great things to say about, Lively, Wendell, Eflin, and Jesse Biddle, who the Phillies are expecting big things from after 2 down years.
It's almost back to like the baby aces.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. The baby aces, you kind of have, you know, definitely some arms to watch down there.
About Aaron Nola, though, and looking a little bit closer at what he did last year, 11 starts after he was drafted in the first round, 55 innings in those 11 starts, a sub-3 ERA, and again, great control. The walk to strikeout ratio, just 10 walks to 45 strikeouts. He's never going to wow you with his K totals, but what he can do is pinpoint control. Won't be a #1 starter, but if he's your 2 or your 3 moving forward, again, that's a guy that you look at like, okay, we have something there.
Yeah, not that Alex Rodriguez is his beacon of truth, but he said that the Phillies have a good one in Aaron Nola. I kind of believe him.
He did. I mean, he knew he went to LSU, and he was familiar with them, so that's always good to see. So now we're going to go by the numbers. Corey, your first number is 35.
Yeah, 35. Since 2010, so over the last 5 years, there have been 35 players to hit 35 or more home runs in a season. Want to guess how many were Phillies?
Not
I
many.
don't know.
Zero. And also what stands out is that there's only 35 guys over the last 5 years, an average of 7 per year. You go back to 2001 to 04, the peak of the steroid era, there were 92, so almost 3 times as many guys hitting homers back then.
Yeah, almost had that many in one season back in that era. I long for that era of home runs. It's long overdue.
It never gets old. No. It never gets old. Pat, number 8.
I have the number 8, and the number 8 has to do with old men, and it's over the age of 35. 8 players that are 35 or older that have played in 100 or more games last season had a 750 OPS or better. That's it. Just 8 guys at that age. Ryan Howard, as we know, is now that age. Look at these names: Victor Martinez, Beltre, Ortiz, Worth, Hunter. Marlon Byrd was here for a moment, and Aramis Ramirez as well. I looked at the number 750 because I think that's not an easy plateau for Ryan Howard to get to, but he was sub 700 last year. If he can get to 750 as an OPS number, I think you'll probably see a pretty good season from him. But you got to keep your fingers crossed that he can stay on the field long enough. And at this age, we know it's tough. Only 8 guys were able to do that.
Very telling.
Corey, you picked number 83?
Yeah, this is a pretty worrisome number. There have been 83 pitchers over the last 3 seasons across, this is minor league and Major League Baseball, 83 Tommy John surgeries.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredible. And if it feels like there's more now than there ever were, it's because there are. Over the previous 3 seasons, 2010 to 2012, there were 44. So we're looking at nearly twice the amount of Tommy John surgeries. I don't know the exact reason for it, Maybe it's that guys are going for the surgery more often as a way to fix their elbow, but whatever it is, baseball has to get it under control because we're losing so many of the top arms.
Absolutely, and they're gone for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
It really, you want the brightest stars playing, not going under the knife.
Yeah.
All right, Pat, last one, number 5.
Yes, as in Rule 5, and Odubel Herrera is going to be on the Phillies roster. He is a Rule 5 pick, and there aren't many great Rule 5 picks out there. Jason Worth and Shane Victorino are 2 of them. But take a look at this list of Rule 5 picks in the major leagues. It's a pretty slim list. Jose Bautista is one of them, R.A. Dickey another one. So you're hoping to see good things from Herrera, but you don't always get them out of Rule 5 picks.
All right, now we're going to get into our fantasy baseball segment presented by DraftKings. You guys are going to pick some sleepers. Pat, what
My
do you got?
sleeper is James Paxton of the Seattle Mariners. Got off to a hot start in his first few starts before getting injured last year, but he's a guy that's going to put up good strikeout totals. Might walk some guys, but in later rounds, I would look for James Paxton of the Mariners.
He had one of his worst starts last year against the Phillies, in fact. But staying in the AL West, I'm going to go with Garrett Richards. Not much of a sleeper because he was so good last year, but because of the surgery that he had to get last year, it was a leg injury. It was not an arm injury. Let's keep that very clear because shoulder and elbow are much more worrisome than knee. And Garrett Richards is dropping in drafts. He dropped in my draft. I know he dropped in your draft. So he's a guy I'm taking in like the 9th, 10th round. He's going to give you a strikeout per inning, hopefully 200 innings, win a lot of games on a team that's supposed to win about 95.
All right, we'll see how you guys do. When we come back on Phillies Nation, we're going to talk a little bit more fantasy baseball, and the guys give their closing arguments up next.
Phillies Nation is filmed each week at Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall in Center City, Philadelphia. Come by all season long for delicious food, daily craft beer specials, and live music every Saturday.
Behold, we are in the presence of champions, fantasy sports legends who have earned hundreds of thousands of dollars playing online. Meet Arlie Gonzalez, average guy, superior sports knowledge. Picked a team in minutes and won enough to throw the party of a lifetime. In outer space. Former accountant Derek Bradley. DraftKings One Day Fantasy Baseball took him from a guy with holes in his underpants to a guy with bikini models in them.
How do we turn our love of fantasy sports into reality cash?
DraftKings.com. They have one-day games, so you're not locked in. It's like a new season every time you play. And best of all, you could win a shipload of money. Start playing today for your share of $1 billion. Use promo code PITCH and get free entry in our 100K baseball contest on opening day. More sports, more winners, more millionaires. Get to DraftKings.com now.
In a world where bankers have lost all interest, where robots and fat cats rule our fortunes, one woman will stand up and strive to do the impossible. Be treated like a person. Friends and neighbors will join her quest. Ordinary people will band together against the forces of corporate greed. And together they will form Philadelphia Federal Credit Union, already in a neighborhood near you.
Our customers tell us it's important that they know who they're doing business with. Basement foundation issues are never fun, and finding a contractor that you can trust can be hard. That's why I founded BQ Basement Systems in 1997. We're the experts in identifying and fixing problems in your basement, your crawl space, foundation repairs, and all things basementing. Have one of our certified inspectors out for your free evaluation and estimate. Visit us at bqbasementsystems.com or call us at 1-800-339-2070.
Philly has a long sports history filled with great players and moments. Shive Vintage Sports in Center City relives the glory years with fashionable attire for all your favorite teams. Separate yourself from the crowd with the hippest Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and Sixers gear. Pick up some unique shirts featuring local teams of yesteryear, or come to fun events where you can learn about your favorite teams. So if you're a sports fan, then you need to check out Shive Vintage Sports. Visit them at 13th and Walnut or shivesports.com.
Phillies Nation is presented by BQ Basement Systems, the Philadelphia region's premier basement contractor.
Today is our distribution event for the Philadelphia School Program. We have been working with Philadelphia Schools since 2008, when we started by supporting only 5 programs.
We started year one with very beat up equipment. Some kids actually didn't have access to any type of glove, so some games we were actually borrowing with the other team, using their bats. Pitching this year has helped us out tremendously. with new gloves, bats, pants for all the kids. So it's just awesome that they're giving us so much.
About 90% of the equipment we have to give away actually comes from the efforts of kids who just love to play ball, and they want to make sure that other kids just like them have the same opportunity. If you have a team interested in supporting us and donating equipment, visit our website at pifb.org.
Great stuff there from Pitch In for Baseball. Let's get back into our fantasy baseball from DraftKings and look at guys that are busts. We looked at sleepers already, so let's talk about a couple of guys that we would stay away from in our drafts, maybe guys that are being overdrafted, and even in some cases you might stay away from in daily leagues as well. Who's your guy you're going with?
I have Ben Zobrist, and the reason I take Zobrist is because he's a guy everybody falls in love with every year because he plays second, short, and the outfield, but he really doesn't do much. I mean, he's going to hit 270, he's going to hit 14 home runs, driving like 65, walks a lot, but a lot of leagues don't count walks. In the daily leagues, maybe a little more valuable, but Oakland, where he's playing now, is not a very good place to hit.
That's interesting. Everyone loves Ben Zobrist.
They do, because of all the positions, but he doesn't do anything particularly well.
All right, I'm going to go with Nelson Cruz. He is moving on to the Seattle Mariners. Hit 40 home runs last year with the Baltimore Orioles, but he's going to Safeco Field, and you know what happens there. That's where hitters go to die.
It is.
And Robinson Cano, he fell off a cliff as far as power is concerned when he went there. So Nelson Cruz I'd stay away from. If he falls to you in a middle to later round, I'm not overdrafting in the second or third round by any means. I know power is paramount, but with a guy like him, I might wait it out a little bit.
Sure, I agree. I mean, especially right-handed power at Safeco Field is not a very conducive, it's not very power-friendly for right-handed hitters.
No doubt about that. So those are the busts to stay away from. Thank you to DraftKings. And now it's our closing arguments. We get about 30 seconds each, and we're just going to rant on whatever we want. So Corey, take the floor.
I want to talk about RBIs. I saw Chili Davis, the Red Sox hitting coach, refer to Alan Craig as an RBI guy, and it was met with a lot of skepticism on Twitter this week, as usual, because RBIs are not looked at with as much significance as they used to be. And I agree in some phases of that, because it's an opportunity-based stat, and a guy who has 105 one year might not have it the next year. So no, it's not a very predictive, telling stat, but it happened. A guy drove in those runs, and in baseball, you need to drive in runs to win games. I just think that we've come too far to the other side. RBIs were once one of the most important stats, now they're just one of the most overlooked stats, and while I don't think that they should be number one, they shouldn't be as far down as they are on people's radar.
All right, my closing argument, I'm going to go a little bit bigger picture here. I'm just going to say, let's enjoy baseball season. I know it may not be pretty at times here with the Philadelphia Phillies, but that doesn't mean there won't be things to celebrate on this team. We still have one of the best second basemen in all of baseball in Chase Utley, who is nearing the end of his career, but is still playing at a very high level. There are still things you can pick. Cole Hamels, we're going to be on top of that situation all year, but even if he is still here, still one of the best pitchers in baseball, and of course the prospects as well. The top 10 that we've talked about, some of the guys at the top, you're going to want to stay tuned to them because they will be here very, very soon.
Nicely said.
I appreciate that. And before we go, we have a fun experience coming up. It's the Phillies Nation opening day tailgate. It's going to be in the Jetro lot, so make sure you head out there. Mitch Williams is going to make an appearance. Nice. There's going to be fun and games and all sorts of stuff going on there, so make sure you're there. Anything you want to promote before we go?
Got a little NL East season preview coming up on csnphilly.com this week.
Beautiful. Sounds good. You can listen to me on 97.5 The Fanatic as well. Thank you to everyone involved here with Phillies Nation, BQ Basement Systems, and the Fieldhouse Sports and Beer Hall. For Corey, I'm Pat. Talk to you next week.